Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of NEWS2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping on Newscast, it was a holiday today for many. The 100th anniversary of D. Hamilton Jackson Day was marked with various celebrations over the weekend. But Monday was a big event on the Big Island, and many came out to remember the local civil rights leader whose actions opened many doors for Virgin Islanders. NEWS2's April Knight has more.
Virgin Islanders came out in celebration on Monday to honor the life of local civil rights leader D. Hamilton Jackson. And nowhere is that celebration more visible than on St. Croix. On Monday, also known as Liberty Day or Bull and Bread Day, Crucians showed up at the park named in Jackson's honor, where speeches and presentations depicted his life's work and his contributions to the Virgin Islands.
We're celebrating the life and work of a local hero, a man who distinguished himself many years ago and whose work is still very beneficial to our territory.
David Hamilton Jackson, born in Christiansted on September 28, 1884, was the organizer of the territory's first labor union. He was also a champion of freedom of the press, having established the Herald, an uncensored newspaper.
Today's event is the 100th year of the Herald, which is a written document that he had that published and communicated with people in the territory about what he was trying to do. This is an incredible event to support the community. It shows community initiative, and I think we should continue to support events like this in our community.
Almost 100 years ago, when the Danish West Indies became the U.S. Virgin Islands in 1917, Jackson also advocated for U.S. citizenship for Virgin Islanders. He made such social breakthroughs that he was called the Black Moses. The day's significance was not lost on those who came.
Today is an extremely important day. D. Hamilton Jackson was vital in community development and tried his best to empower the local individuals of this community.
Reporting for NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
In other news, Virgin Islands government employee Laverne Mills Williams has filed a civil suit against Governor Kenneth Mapp, his chief of staff Randy Knight, and chief legal counsel Emil Henderson III. According to Williams, the three named in the suit instructed her to stonewall public records requests by some local news media. According to Williams's camp, she was in effect being punished for releasing documents that point to an improper spending of taxpayer monies. Count on 2, we will keep you updated. Senator Kenneth Gittens said on Friday he was relieved to learn that a problem that prevented more than 100 employees from being paid on Thursday was promptly fixed. He was happy to learn Friday afternoon that 137 employees who were affected had been processed, had paper checks in hand, and were able to get to the banks ahead of the close of business. Senator Gittens said the employees were kicked out of the payroll system ahead of Thursday's payday because each division had been required to update their employee job salary record for all of its employees, and some had not done so. 2 cabinet members went on Holland Redfield's radio talk show, Straight Talk, on October 30th. DLCA Commissioner Devin Carrington and Commissioner of Finance Valdemar Collins were both in the hot seat and answered some questions ranging from budget cuts to the territory's multi-billion-dollar deficit. NEWS2's April Knight has more.
DLCA Commissioner Devin Carrington laments the 5% reduction to his department's budget for fiscal year 2016. While it doesn't seem like a lot, he said the drop handicaps them, especially in the hiring of new employees. Because of the cut, the DLCA ends up having to dip into the Consumer Protection Fund.
We've been asked to increasingly depend on that fund, which is capped at $500,000. Anything in excess of that, by law, pours into the general fund.
According to Carrington, removing the $500,000 cap on the Consumer Protection Fund makes sense, especially for an agency that he says pays its way.
Our licensing fees contribute more than $3 million, more than we are asking for, more than we utilize. We contribute in excess of that to the general fund.
Finance Commissioner Valdemar Collins also made an appearance and gave the down low on the status of the territory's overall deficit.
Our total debt on the primary government side is approximately I would say close to about $4.2 billion.
Right.
That's excluding GERS. When you add in GERS, it is somewhere probably around
$2 billion.
$2 billion is the unfunded liability plus, so it's probably about $7 billion when you add it all up.
And while the $7 billion deficit is nothing compared to Puerto Rico's $72 billion, if you look at it per capita, according to Collins, it's almost just as bad. He does think, however, that in terms of economic development, the Virgin Islands is going in the right direction. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Last month, the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection held a meeting with top WAPA executives and the WAPA board. Senator Villalay implored the board and executives to put an end to the unfair hiring practices of subcontractors hired by WAPA that omits local Virgin Islanders from jobs. Attorney Gerald Groner and Executive Director Hugo Hodge pledged at that meeting to address the concern at the next board meeting and develop an immediate solution. Senator Villalay commends their action at the last board meeting that mandated all WAPA contractors and subcontractors hire Virgin Islands residents for its projects so the tax dollars are invested back into the local economy and local employment opportunities are preserved. The Virgin Islands Supreme Court has a new Chief Disciplinary Counsel. Tanisha Bailey Roca is replacing Delphine Janey and will be managing the Virgin Islands Bar Association's disciplinary system. She will also be responsible for receiving, screening, investigating, and if needed, prosecuting any complaints made against judges or an attorney or anyone engaged in malpractice of law. Roca earned her bachelor's from American University and her law degree from University of Maryland Law School. Roca has also served regularly as a panelist for News 2's live election panels. Congratulations on that appointment. Turn our attention to crime reports. Police are investigating a Thursday afternoon robbery that occurred in the Estate Baron spot at Paradise Teas and Novelties. Police said two men entered the business and demanded money. The men were able to take $20 from the business and fled the area on foot. Both were described as appearing to be of Hispanic descent. One, an adult, was described as slim-built, wearing a black t-shirt and khaki pants with a mask covering his face. The second suspect, a slim minor male, wearing a black t-shirt and in possession of a small chrome handgun. No one was injured. Call the Criminal Investigation Bureau at 340-712-6037, 911, or Crime Stoppers if you can help police in this investigation. Turn our attention overseas. The U.S. Navy says it's found wreckage of the El Faro. That's the cargo ship that disappeared near the Bahamas during Hurricane Joaquin. The El Faro was carrying 33 crew members when it vanished. Now that they found the wreckage, the NTSB and the U.S. Navy will do more investigating if conditions underwater comply. They'll determine whether the cargo shifted and fell before the ship rolled over and sank. They'll also be looking for cracks in the hull and trying to determine whether they could find the black box. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our Stock Market Watch. As you can see, everything up there, the Dow 165, NASDAQ 73, S&P 500 24. Coming up on News 2 with the theme, Girls of Hope. Unique Expression organization held its inaugural conference. Presenters addressed topics that focused on healing and girl power. It's coming up. Welcome back. The Committee on Government Services, Consumer and Veteran Affairs, chaired by Senator Justin Harrigan Sr., met on Thursday and discussed the bill number 31-0155. It's sponsored by Harrigan to amend the Virgin Islands Code by adding a paragraph relating to the duties of the Office of Veterans Affairs in connection with inscribing names on memorials. This bill seeks to clearly designate the Office of Veterans Affairs as the agency responsible for ensuring the names of our deceased military personnel who died to be placed on the memorial. The bill was voted out of committee with a favorable recommendation and sent to the Rules and Judiciary Committee for further consideration. With that in mind, Governor Kenneth Mapp, in conjunction with Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter and the Office of Veterans Affairs, they're inviting the veterans of receptions in honor of Veterans Day on November 4th. It's the first one. St. Croix at Government House from 12 to 2 p.m. And then November 8th on St. John at the Battery. That's from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And then November 11th, St. Thomas at Estate Catherineburg from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Now you must reserve your spot. Also, the Vigo E. Sewer American Legion Post 131 St. John. They also schedule some events. November 7th, it's the annual Wounded Warriors Barbecue at the Agriculture Station in Coral Bay. That starts at 1 p.m. Now, these are the wounded veterans that come with Team River Runner, who spend time on St. John every year snorkeling and kayaking. Then November 7th, the Veterans Day Parade starting at 9:30 a.m. from the fire station to the Ag Station in Coral Bay. The guest speaker is Army retired Sergeant Major Rouse Payne. On November 21st, St. John Rotary Club will be honoring 5 St. John Vietnam veterans at their annual Flavors Gala at the Westin Hotel starting at 6 p.m. On Saturdays, some women, younger and older, learn how to tap into their own unique abilities to foster hope among themselves and eventually in the wider community during the 7th annual Girls Empowerment Conference, PAIR. It was held at the Marriott Frenchman's Reef. Here's more. There was an impressive gathering to promote Girl Power. Unique Expression Ministries hosted the 7th annual Girls Empowerment Conference, PAIR, at Marriott Frenchman's Reef.
It's to just really instill hope in our young women and in the community, cause them to know that they are leaders, that they have purpose in the earth, that they are going places.
The theme was Girls of Hope. Learn how to tap into your own unique abilities to foster hope among yourselves and eventually in the wider community.
Many times what's the spiritual affects your physical. So people who've had traumas that have been unresolved traumas, loss, rejection, abandonment, all of these things unresolved somehow show up in our physical bodies at some point in time.
Some of the topics included girl power, shifting the paradigm, breaking the mold, girl power, and what constitutes beauty. The event featured a well-rounded list of guest speakers who shared inspirational stories with those in attendance.
These events, I think, combining the spiritual and the physical and explaining, to people and being available for the participants in sharing my experience as a physician as well as a woman and working to help them heal in the process of healing. I think ultimately we all want to be whole.
Well, young women, I just want to let you know that you are a unique expression of God's love. You got a purpose in the earth. And I want to encourage you that today might not be a good day, but tomorrow is going to be a better day. You got purpose in the earth. The sky is the limit.
Great conference there. The Department of Sports, Parks and Recreation's Commissioner Pedro Cruz and his staff held a Children's Recognition Awards banquet that was on October 25th at Government House Ballroom in St. Croix. Honored were 38 outstanding athletes of age groups from 9 to 15 from different sports activities and most disciplined, and 12 participants from the Department of Sports, Parks and Recreation Summer Camp program were honored as the most improved children from the respective programs on October 30th. 53 most outstanding children from different sports competition, as well as from the summer camp program, were honored on St. Thomas. The Rotary Club of St. Thomas East, VI Housing Authority, and VI-NGN held a grand opening of the Public Computer Center at the Bovoni Housing Community last Friday. The group of about 16 to 17 members adopted the lab, as we reported earlier, and voluntarily staffed the center every Wednesday and Friday from 2 p.m. to 4:45 p.m., providing free access to computers and software. If you would like to volunteer, because they are looking for volunteers, call Lynn Delaney at 817-773-7223 or Corrine Van Rensselaer at 340-626-1199. St. Thomas Senator Gene Ford, whose office has spearheaded various outreach initiatives, as well as reps of the Queen Louise home, expressed thanks to Frankie Hoheb after learning of his recent gift to the Queen Louise home of a 60-inch flat-screen TV to be placed in the lobby for residents to enjoy. Ford is hoping many will follow in the footsteps, saying, as we approach the Christmas season, be reminded of the less fortunate, particularly the elderly, and include them on our gift-giving list. Well, for most Americans, daylight savings time ended with a fall back to standard time on Sunday. Most of the U.S. set clocks back by 1 hour beginning at 2 a.m. But the federal government doesn't require U.S. states or territories to observe daylight saving time, which is why residents of Arizona, except for residents of the Navajo Indian Reservation, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, American Samoa, Guam, and the Northern Marianas Islands didn't need to change their clocks this weekend. However, some of your television programming times will change once again. News 2 will still be seen at weeknights at 7 p.m., but it will now re-air at 12 a.m. rather than 11 p.m. Now here's a look at our prime time, CBS News 2's prime time, which begins at 9. Looks like this. News 2 re-airs, of course, at 7:30 in the morning. CBS this morning is at 8, moving down a little later in the day. The Young and the Restless at 1:30. The Bold and the Beautiful at 2:30 p.m. The Talk at 3. Let's Make a Deal at 4. Judge Judy at 5. Ellen at 6. And, of course, News 2 at 7. Well, be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.